I'm back and I am trying to see if I could welcome some participants. I'm a little early, so I am 20 minutes early from the start. And summer is usually a slow time. They cannot, usually it's not as many people because people are on vacation. So I totally understand because when I was still teaching, we look forward to summer, my family and I, because that's when we went on vacations. We always went either one of the states in the United States or abroad. And I am based in Arkansas, by the way, but I am a Filipino American teacher, so as a Philam. And I was 19 years old when I came to the US, 1987. And I got my education here in the United States, although I did have 2 years and a half of pre-law schooling in the Philippines at USJR or University of San Jose Recoletas in Cebu. But here in Arkansas State University in Jonesboro, that's where I got my bachelor's, master's, specialist, and doctorate degree. So I guess I could say I have the best of both worlds because I was able to also go to school there and also here in the US. The only thing is, I was only a student in the Philippines, but I have never taught in the Philippines. So when I'm meeting with teachers here, I am also learning a lot because I see the perspective or I hear about their perspectives as teachers in the Philippines while I have input about the United States, teaching about what it is to teach in the United States. And I think that's very important for teachers to know about the cultural differences, what you are, facing when dealing with the differences between the American kids and the Filipino kids, because they are totally different. It's like night and day. It doesn't matter where you are in the United States, may it be rural or urban. There are lots of differences about how students learn as a Filipino and as an American. Welcome, Albert. You're the first one. You're the very first one that came on. It's about close to 20 minutes early, but I was gonna let people be admitted early so that they could talk to me before the others come. Hi, Albert. It's been a long time since I've talked to you. How are you doing?
Ano to? Ano to?
Are you doing okay? Albert, where are you in the Philippines again? Can you hear me?
Wala, kaya ko bahayo.
Can you hear me? Albert?
Hello, Doc. Good evening, Doc.
Hello, do you want to turn your camera on?
Uh, uh, a, lit, a little while, Doc. I'm still,
Try to get ready.
uh, uh,
I know in the past I have talked to Albert that but I think you have not attended for a while, but I know I've talked to you more than one time, right? Is that right?
yes, Doc.
Yeah. Saan ka sa Pilipinas? Where are you in the Philippines? Albert, where are you in the Philippines?
I'm here in Negros Occidental, Doc. Western Visayas, Region 6.
Oh, so you're Bisaya, di ba? Bisaya masag ko sa Cebu.
Ay,
I'm from Cebu. Yeah,
Ilonggo, Cebuano, Doc. Pasabot ra.
Ilonggo. Okay. So, ginapiko, ginapala.
Ang kwarta, ginapiko, ginapala.
That's right.
Ang utang, ginabuldos.
That is right. Anyway, talking about utang, talking about debt in the Philippines, the teachers have loans. Like, do they have loans there for that you can loan from the DepEd, or how does that work there? I guess I'm asking because some teachers, are talking about that when they're saying about, if they have to fund their coming to the US, they can loan or do something. Is that right?
Yes, Doc. Oo.
Makaloan kayo
We
sa...
have our loan. We do have loans in GSIS, private banks.
Okay. Is the
Yes.
is the interest low or how does that work? Mataas ang interest
Um,
or low?
6% per annum.
Oh, it's not bad. That is not bad. It's better than
Yes,
yung loan sharks, diba? Loan sharks
yes,
is
Doc.
like, 5, 6, right?
Yes, Doc.
That's a lot. Yeah. So how many years of experience do you have, Albert?
I'm already 22 years in service, Doc.
Mm. Okay. Well, I know that others are always concerned, like somebody was saying, "Oh, I'm already 40. Am I too old?" And I'm like, "No, there is no such thing as being old because in the US, we don't discriminate on the basis of age or
Yes, Doc.
gender or anything like that. So you don't worry about that, okay? When you interview though, just stick with your professional information. You don't even have to tell them your age, okay?
Yes,
You
Doc.
can tell them your number if you're gonna do the experience, you could say I have more than 20 years of experience. You don't have to be exact either, because you don't want to create a bias like, oh, she's already close to 30, you can do that if you want. But it's important to say your degree. What's your degree?
Uh, Bachelor of Arts in Education, major in Social Studies, and I have also a full-fledged Master in Education, major in Social Studies.
Good, perfect. Yeah, because
Yes,
the requirement is at least 2 years of education experience full time, and also your master's degree. There are
yes, Doc.
a few visa sponsors that would still accept no masters, especially if they have more than 10 years of experience. But most of the sponsors, you will find that they are going to want you to have your masters. And that's good that your master's actually in our area. A lot of the
Yes,
masters I see are in administration, right? In supervision.
yes, Doc.
But that's okay too. If your area is in there, a master's. But if you do some reading, it's actually saying that if you have your education plus 5 years of experience is equal to a master's degree equivalent here in the US. But I think most of these visa sponsors will really not acknowledge it that way. They always want you to have that actual master's. Okay. So tell me,
Uh,
what is a CAR? What is a CAR?
it's
A
not,
bunch of them, I see that like complete academic requirements. Is that what it is?
yes,
CAR.
Doc.
What does that mean?
I complete academic requirements, at least 36 units.
Okay. Out of what? How
Oo.
many is a
Lack,
pass?
lacking ano na lang, thesis na lang kulang.
Oh,
Ganon.
okay. So all but
Uh,
dissertation. Okay, all but dissertation. All
yes,
but
sir.
the thesis. Okay. Here in the US, if you have like you're working on your doctorate degree, I finished mine in 2011. And so those classmates of mine that did not get finished, but they got done with their courses, but not their dissertation, they call them ABD. ABD means all but dissertation. So do you call ABD there or ABT at all but thesis? You don't say that, right? It's just so
Yes, sir.
CAR, met the CAR. So how does that work there? If you have your CAR, is that considered having a master's or not complete? How does that?
Uh, ano lang, units. You are recognized as complete academic requirements. It could be, there is also a corresponding points during promotion,
Oh,
but not yet a full-fledged master's degree.
okay. So you will use that, for example, in your master one, master two, master three teacher. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Because you're based on
yes.
merit pay in there, right? Do you get a
Uh,
big pay raise if you are a master one, two, or three? Do they give you more money?
yes, Doc. Because at this moment, I was promoted last 2015 as master teacher one.
Okay.
So the salary is higher compared to teacher three.
Okay. But so like how much pay increase did you get?
Uh, from teacher one to master teacher one. Teacher one today is probably 28,
Thousand
and
pesos.
master teacher one is 51.
Wow, that's a big difference. Yeah,
Yes, daw.
28 to 51. So parang
Oh,
it's nearly double because
oh,
28 times 2 would be 56 and you got 51. That's awesome. Um 51,000 would be around $1,000, which means you're making about 12,000. Or do they count it as 9 months or do they count it as 10 months or 12 months? How do they do that?
10 months, doc.
10 months. So you're doing $10,000 then if you're a master one, but that would be equivalent to a tenth of what it is in the US because you're doing $10,000 and it's well no, it's a fifth because we start at 50,000 here. And so,
Okay.
yeah, so it's about times five. It's for you for master people. You will it's only be about times five, times six. But for those that are not master teachers, you will do like times 10. So it's a nine or 10. So it's a pretty big difference because that would be like about 3 million pesos is what you will get for 9 months of work.
Oh,
Yeah. So usually we
mm.
start on third week of August and we're done by third week of May, or some people would go all the way to the end of May. So what's the time there in the Philippines? When do you start and when do you end now?
Our class today will start on June 16.
June
June
16. You haven't
16, we
started.
started our class.
You already did.
We
Okay.
have started.
Okay, I did not know that. For some reason, I thought you were matching the US now. You did that and then you quit. You stopped
Yes, yes, doc. Before we started
August.
July, July or August, and we because of during summer there is a very extreme heat, and
Mm.
our classrooms are so makeshift classrooms. It's very hot, so that's why our agency, the Department of Education, um,
Went back
again
went back to June.
revised the ano to uh, get back into the previous schedule, which is June, the
So you will end
June.
now in what, March?
March, doc.
Yeah, okay.
March.
Well, that's what it was when I was going to school in the Philippines back in, I left in 1987. So it was like that. And then you switched. And then now you have also have your seventh and eighth grade, right? You still have that where you
Yes,
add,
doc.
yeah. Yeah, my niece got caught with that. She thought she was going to graduate
Mhm.
already, but then she had 2 more years. But do
Yeah.
you feel like that's a good thing that you added seventh and eighth grade? By the
Yes,
way,
doc. Yes, doc.
Eli or Ellie, Rose, kumusta? How are you? Do you think that's a good idea for kids to have that extra 2 years?
Yes, doc. It's for me, it's very significant. The grade 11 and 12.
Okay. Why did you think that it is?
Because in grade 11 and grade 12, the skills are being taught. But before, when we graduated grade 10, we have to go to the city to enroll in a vocational course.
Okay. So
But
11,
today,
yeah. Okay.
yes, that vocational course is being taught as grade 11 and 12.
Got it. Okay. So you actually will be coming out of school or of the high school, already have your 2 years of college in. Is that what you're saying? You already have
Yes,
an
doc. Yes, doc.
equivalent of like your college and career, your technical, you're more of a technical degree. Okay, I got it.
Mhm.
Okay, there's
Uh,
Elizabeth. Welcome, Elizabeth. Now, Ellie, thank you so much for the information. I am always saying that I'm learning a lot from you all there because I was a student. I left there. I had 2 years of college in 2 years and a half of college in USJR in San Jose, in Cebu. But then I finished my education here in the US. So I had
uh,
my bachelor, master, specialist, and doctorate here. And so it's kind of nice to always learn about what's going on in the Philippines, right? Because I still have
yes,
my
doc.
two brothers in Lapu-Lapu And I have
Oh, okay.
10, yeah, I have 10 nieces and nephews there. So one brother, my big brother has 4 kids, and my little brother has 6 kids. So there are 10 kids there. And I helped one of the kids finished nursing. So I helped her, and then her sister now finished teaching. So there's two of them. And so their responsibility is to help their little siblings in order to finish also. But it's kind of, being so poor in the Philippines and having that degree is such important thing because that's pretty much something that nobody can take away from you. And we always got
Yes, Doc.
told that
Yeah.
when you're younger, right? Yeah.
Yes, Doc.
Thank you, Albert. Hi, Eli or Ellie. Do you say
Thank you so
Ellie or
much, Doc.
Eli? Yeah, thank you again, Albert.
Uh,
Hello, Doc.
Yeah,
Good.
unsa ang pag-ingon nimo day Eli or Eli? Ellie.
Ellie po, Ellie Rose.
Ellie Rose. Yeah, I love that name. Ellie Rose, and then I know
Thank you
Elizabeth is
po.
here. So Ellie, I know you have attended before, right?
Yes, Doc, but
Yeah.
I left because there is a problem in my internet connection.
Okay, well, you have a good connection now. You're clear. I love your
Yes.
background. Very good that you wore a solid color. I always say something about it. You may have watched some of my old videos that some folks are doing something really busy, and then in the background it's also busy, and it's like you're clashed, you can't focus because you're looking like what in the world, It's very busy. But so I always kind of notice that. Yeah, here's Mary Ann. And anyway, so I try to do the same. Today I'm actually wearing something that's more striped, and they said stripes usually not a friend to the internet, but it's okay because to me it's going the right way, up and down. It's vertical instead of horizontal, so it's okay as long as it's not too busy. And anyway, so tell me about you have any questions today? Any of you? I know I talked to Albert. So do you have any question? Ellie Rose, do you have any question for me?
Can I still, Doc, submit my resume to you because I wasn't able to. I have already submitted it to you. You give your feedback to me, but I wasn't able to resubmit it because the classes here in the Philippines has already started and I am so very busy. So
Mm-hmm.
can I still
Oh,
submit
yeah.
it, Doc?
Yeah, I take it all year long. It doesn't matter. Yeah, you can send it. And usually what was the comment that I made on your resume or cover letter?
There was no picture.
Okay. I asked you for a
Then
picture. How about references?
Then, yes, doc, the references, I need to put the contact numbers and I need to be specific on my teaching experience. Then you have sent me the link of your and doc yung references for me to how to write my resume.
Did that help you? Did that help you?
Yes, doc, it
Yeah.
really helps.
Good. Because
Then I am
yeah.
formatting my resume to the one that you have sent to me.
Okay, you did. And did you get any response at all?
I stopped for a while, doc, in applying because I
Busy.
am tending to the medical needs of my mother because
Oh.
she is sick.
Oh, I'm
So I
sorry.
stopped for a while in my journey in applying for US because I need to tend, and when I got home I get so um
Busy. Yeah.
tired
Yeah.
because we have the classes has already started and I need to stay up late to apply. So sometimes I sleep early because I need to wake up early for my class. So I
Right.
stop it for
Oh,
a while in
yeah.
applying.
Is your mama feeling better now? Is she feeling better?
She has just her biopsy because she has the endometrial mass in her
Oh, sorry.
endometrial. And then we are just waiting for the result. Then if the result would come out, she is advised for operation so that the mass will be taken out from her endometrial lining.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm sorry to hear that. That sounds like a painful thing. Yeah. Well,
Yes,
good
the
thing now with the technology, you do have lots of pain medication now. You don't
medication. Yes, doc.
it's very expensive in America. Medical is so expensive. Like, if you go to an emergency room, you may as well think about spending about $2,000, $3,000 a day.
Oh,
You're talking
really?
100, yeah, from 50,000, 100,000 pesos a day. So that's very expensive. That's one of the most expensive things. And when you
I
come
thought.
here as a J1 person, they will ask you to pay for insurance, and the insurance will pay for that. It's not like you have to pay for that. A lot
Mm,
of times you are to pay about 20%. So about maybe
mm,
one fifth of that. But depending on your type of insurance you have. But like now I'm retired, so my insurance that I pay is like 200 something, it's about 10,000 pesos a month. But some of the teachers, like my sister, she's about to retire. She's got one more year. Because I was an administrator I was a literacy specialist in the state. So I had a state level insurance, which is about half. So when my sister retires, her retirement would be, retirement insurance would be about $500. So you're talking about 30,000 pesos a month is part of our insurance. And that's a sad thing because in America, the health fees are so expensive. And so we have teachers that are coming out and they would retire and they would work in places like Gaisano, that's called Walmart here, just because the
mm,
insurance is cheaper. And they are doing
mm,
that because of insurance. That's a sad thing because here we are supposed to enjoy our retirement and they are working at Walmart just because they cannot afford their insurance. And so,
no.
yeah. But then when you turn, like when I turn 65 or 67, I think, like I'm only 57. So in 10 years, I could actually get the Medicare, which is the Medicare insurance from the state, from the government. And that's when it's cheaper. So like my husband is already on it. So he could, you still need to go ahead and do, they call that supplemental insurance. So whatever your Medicare does not pay, like the 20% part, you get another insurance, so it will pay for that 20%. That way you will be 0%. So that's still costing him about $100 a month. So even with Medicare, we're still paying about $100, 5,000 pesos a month just for the supplemental. So he would, when he goes to the doctor, then it will catch it all, from the 80% plus the 20%. So yeah, that's one thing in America. We have really good health thing, but it's also expensive. So, yeah. So that's one thing that you will have to pay as a J1 person that your sponsor would ask you to pay. But
Mm,
for the J1 though, it's not as expensive. For some reason, it's cheap for you guys. But once you get out of that, for example, your H1B, I have some folks that I've helped get H1B visas, and theirs is totally different because the J1 and the H1B folks have totally different deals because like J1 folks, you cannot buy houses, you cannot buy any properties here. But if you are an H1B person, that means it's a path to citizenship, it's a path to green card. You can actually buy properties. Like Mike, I don't know if Mike isn't here yet. Mike is under H1B. He's one of the four that I helped, come here as an H1B in one school. And he could, buy a house if he wants to. And of course, in order to do that, you have to have a good credit. And what is a credit? It's like, well, that is a rating that they would assign you 750. Like it goes to close to 900. So if you have a 750 rating, that means you've got a good credit rating. You can easily get a loan from any banks. They would give you a loan if it's 750 or better because it shows that you must be a good customer. Like you pay your bills, you're not late, and so you could borrow money to buy a car. That's what most of our teachers are doing. So like Mike already has his own car, plus his wife's got a car too. So they bought two cars because if you work in two different places, you have to have another car, especially if you don't, if it's not on the way, like, and your schedule's different. So Mike actually bought my last car, so now his wife
mm,
has it. I had a Prius, but yeah, those are the fees that are different here in the U.S. How about there in the Philippines to maintain a vehicle? To have like your own private vehicle. I know that there's a lot of taxis and jeepneys and tricycles, but to have your own, who of you have your own cars or vehicle there? Do you have one, Eli Rose?
no,
No?
no, Doc. I don't have one. It's so expensive. I can't afford it.
Yeah, it's expensive, like,
But
yeah.
yes, Doc. I have my cousin. She is a J1. She is assigned in North. Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
and she brought her husband, and they have owned two cars
Yeah,
because they don't have the same time schedule for their work. Sabi niya sa akin, te, ang car dito is ano lang, parang cellphone. You can buy as long as you have a good credit
that's right.
rating. Ba yun
Yeah,
siya?
credit
Yes,
rating.
do.
And that's why whenever you have a bill, you do not be late even one day, because the
Mm.
first thing that they would do is offer you a credit card. And credit card here is not like, in the Philippines, we look at it negatively, like, oh, you don't get a credit card. Here it's a must. It's pretty much a must because that's how you form your credit, because that's when you show them what kind of customer you are, if you're gonna pay or not. So you have to have one, usually like a Discover or a Visa, MasterCard, like that. So they will offer you one, and so accept it. And usually, I think it starts one $2,000 dollar limit, so you can have that card where you can just charge, and as long as you pay, if you pay it all. So my husband always says, if you charge in a credit card, you have to pay it like when a bill comes. Some people would only pay like minimum, like they would owe 1,000 and they would only pay $50. Well, that's not good because all the interest, insurance, I mean, credit card will charge you a big interest. Some of them are as high as 30%. So that's really, really high. So you do not want to leave a credit. It's okay to like charge and then just long as you pay. Because if you cannot pay it in full, that means you're living beyond your means. You don't want to do that.
Really?
So yeah, just remember you have to be good at it. Like, do not go above your means. Because if you have $1,000, limit that they give you. If you go over the 30%, like if you charge over $300 and you don't pay for it, and it's gonna make your credit go worse. So especially if it's above 30%. So if you have your utang, your debt is over $300 out of the 1,000 limit, that's gonna ruin your credit. So your credit is gonna go down in points. And there is a Credit Karma, which is CK, Credit Karma, that you could go in and apply for free, and you can trace your credit. It will keep up with how, you're going up or going down. I've been keeping up in mine because I've been horrible about forgetting. I have the money, I just forget to pay. So I'm doing better now at actually I paid it off, all off. So and then I'm watching my credit every day. Every day I check and see went up so many points, 17 points, 30 points. I'm happy about that. I'm actually having my daily diary to see who my what my points are. Yeah, but I not that because I needed to borrow one or anything. I just want to build it because I was so bad when I was working, and when you are working and you are going to school at the same time, and I was managing our businesses, so it was so busy that I didn't have time, and I was not smart enough to like. I guess I did not know that you can just schedule it. Like you could schedule it and say, okay, directly pay for it from my account. When the date comes, you just like it just automatically get it from your account. The way you can do that, that's the best way to do that. So you won't forget. Because now that I'm in my 50s, I'm so forgetful. Well, anyway, going back to that, these are really good information for you because this is something that you do not know while living in the Philippines because that's not in our culture. It's not part of our culture here. They call it the American way. That's what we owe, so we off to work we go. That's always a joke that we do that people say, right? And so yeah, feel free to send me your resume again, the corrected one, and it's under McCullough Merlina at gmail.com, same one that you did, okay? And
Yes,
and I
yes.
will be glad, yeah, I'll be glad to add it to my list. So how it works is that I have my list, those with a good resume ready to go, and I usually want a cover letter with it. And so in the cover letter, don't address it to me. Address it to dear administrators, or usually say dear principal, superintendent, and hiring committee, or something like that. Because different situations have different things. Some of them have HR, which is a human resource. If you're big, they'll have a human resource office. And by the way, Debbie, I just welcome back, welcome back. I just filled out something from HR for you.
Oh, oh,
Anyway,
thank
yeah.
you, Doc.
Yeah, you're welcome. And so anyway, so the HR will be the one to do the hiring, okay? But if you have a smaller school, then the superintendent is very hands-on, the principal is very hands-on, and they're actually the ones that would talk to you. Okay, but for huge places like Little Rock, which is a very big capital for us, is kind of equivalent to Manila there. And they have like 123 elementary schools alone. So they do not, the superintendent will not have the time to be the one to be hands-on. So they will have an HR department, human resource department, and that those folks are the ones that's doing the interview. So a lot of times they will do that first. They will do the first step. And then after that, then they will include the principals. So that means they're going to vet you, do the vetting first. And then some of them would even bypass the principal. They'll just give the principal, okay, this is who we hired for your building. And that's not a good thing because you have to involve, as a former principal, assistant principal, I want to be involved. I want to know who's going to be hired in my building. I want to be able to be the one to interview. But in some schools, they're not set up like that. They are setting up where the HR office, which is in the district office, will have the power to hire for each of the different buildings. And the principal, a lot of time principals don't like that at all because they want to be involved in that one. And so I guess it depends on the personality of your HR folks. If you have a leadership style that is authoritative, that means I'm my way or the highway. Authoritative, that's like a Hitler one, Hitler leadership style, then they won't involved. But if they have a collaborative leadership style, they will involve. They have to have the input. And that's what I always do. Or servant leadership style. I will serve you. But if it is a authoritative style, not good. It's always a problem as a HR person or as a teacher. If we're always gonna be like, okay, I'm the teacher, so all the ones that I want is gonna happen because I'm the teacher. That's not gonna work, especially in America, okay? Kids are gonna not want that. Debbie, do you agree with me? They don't want to be bossed around, is what they call that. You don't want to sound bossy. In the Philippines, the kids will just put up with it, right? We put up with it. I remembered we put up with it. If you have teachers with strong personalities like that, we're gonna be like, that's just her, right? We accepted that. Not here. You're gonna have problems if you feel like I'm the teacher, so I'm gonna just, tell the kids what to do. I always had input from my students. Okay, we're gonna have this unit. This is what do you think? So I always ask them, what do you think? Give me some input, and what do you think we should do? What should be the, whatever it is that I'm asking, even rubric, I ask them to have input. Okay, how many points? Okay, I want to do 50 points on this. So you always want to do like the content of it's more than half. So if it's 50 points, then you need to have at least 30 or maybe even 40 points for the content, the meat itself. And then the other 10, for example, I'll ask them, okay, 2 points for like neatness or, 5 points for grammar, little things like that. They help me do that, come up with it. But I always kind of set of where the content would be that it needs to be like at least 80%, 70 to 80% of that would be the content. And the other things are the details that I want. Some of them, neatness is always a good thing to have 1 or 2 points. That way it's a neat project, you know? And so if I do like, you have to have an artifact. So something that you have to have standing there in front of, they can do a Play-Doh or a modeling clay, model of their project. You could assign 10 points for that, or whatever. But they help me decide on that. So after you do that the first of the year, they're so good at it. They're just like, okay, how about this, And so I would put or go on the board and I would write down, okay, this is out of the 100, this is what it is. And so what do you think? And they will start voting or whatever. And then later on, it's just so automatic. Like, okay, this is the one that's gonna happen. And they feel so included. Same thing with the first of the year. If you do your rules, them to help you come up with the rules. One of the big rule that you could always come up with is respect, because that covers so much. Okay, when one of your rules is respecting others, then there's gonna be a lot of little umbrellas that would go with it. That's the big umbrella, respect. Okay, respect others, of course, you have to respect their things, respect, there's all kinds of things under respect. That's one of the big rules. So stay within 4 to 5 things when you're doing rules. Do not have 10 things, because when you post these rules always post this on the wall, you'll be able to point, okay, what rule do you think that you broke on this one? And they'll figure out, okay, I broke number one, respect. Well, I broke number two, which is be prepared. I came in here and I was not prepared. I didn't have my books with me or whatever. And so have them to kind of reflect on that. I always did. Okay, I want you to go back up. I want you to look up on the wall and see what rule number did you break? Because they'll come up in the beginning of the like the first day, one of the most of the schools here would actually ask you to like read the handbook to the students, which is a boring thing, right? It's so boring because, well, we already know that, especially if they're not, it's not their first time. Like, we do we have to do this? All the teachers always do this. Well, that's required. Your principal would tell you to that they need to know the rules. So what I did was I would be creative. I would be like, I would group them and I would like, okay, let's let's act it out. This is what does it look like? And I would say, show me an example. So a group would show an example and another group, okay, show me a non-example. What does this look like? Oh, you don't do this, whatever. And they would act it out, and all this. So it's more fun for them because it's not like just me reading it and so on, and they're bored to death. And they would start making noises. They would start misbehaving because they're bored to death. So I would make it like a role play. Show us an example of what this looks like. Okay, this rule says this. What would this look like? Whatever. So anytime you do something like that, just be creative with it. Even though as boring as rules, you can still put strategies there that makes it more fun for them. Okay. All right. So Eli, I want Eli, right? Eli Rose. I hope that your mom feels better, and I put her in my prayer that you. What's her name? What's her
Shileta.
Gillette? Oh, that's nice name. I will put her in my prayers that I hope she does have
Thank
good
you for
support. Yeah, that's always so hard. My mom, when mom was in the hospital, we always worry. And so, yeah, so when our parents are older, my mom's 83 now. And so I always worry. Yeah, my mom is here 5 minutes from me. So she came here
Mm.
about 1 week before I had my baby, and my baby is now 35. So my mom's here been 35 years, and my dad in the Philippines died. So my mom actually married an American. And so she has her second husband's American and very, very nice guy, really treated as well. But he died. They only were married 9 years and he had cancer. Yeah, so that was a sad thing. And we still miss him. So anyway, so yeah, that's so my mom is 5 minutes from me. And I go like I went there yesterday and took some pictures. I need to post it. But anyway, yeah, you have to, really take care of your mom. How old is your mom?
She's 68, Doc.
Oh my gosh, she's young. She's only 11
Yes,
years
Doc.
old.
She's young and
She's
she's
still young.
sickly now.
Yeah, poor thing. I was posting, if you're following me on Facebook, I posted Miss Zenaida. Debbie, did you see that, Deb? Where Zenaida is, hi Debbie, you might be the only one. Is Mike here or Giselle? Debbie, can I make you a co-host? Because you can let everybody in, okay? While I'm talking. Because I don't want people to be waiting. Let me see, make host. Okay, so no, you are now that. So if you don't mind to let people in. Okay, so Ms. Zenaida that's here, and you'll see her when I post it on the Facebook, and she's 68. Okay, and she is the mother of one of our H1B teachers, Dr. Johnson. So Dr. Johnson with Mike. So there was Mike, April, Dina, and Dr. Johnson. And she was actually a teacher, I think online teacher for UP or something there. But anyway, so she is a Spanish teacher here, and she got married to an American. So and so her mother, when she came over to my place, she likes it here because I live in the rural part of provincia. It's like a province, right? And then they live in the city. And her mother is from the province. So she said she really liked it here. And I said, here, come over, have a vacation here. So her mother's next door. So she and has been bonding, we go to garden and so on. And yeah, I've been taking her, like last night we went to bingo. We did not get lucky, but that was something new for her. She's never seen it. She's never experienced it. So she's experiencing all kinds of country things here in my side of Arkansas. Not the she lives her daughter now lives in the university town where I got all my degrees. So that's 2 hours from me. So I had to drive 2 hours when I was going to school. But now, yeah, we're having a good time because my husband just does his thing. He's got his projects going. And so she and I would like go in the yard, would, mess around, and then we just like visit friends and just kind of hang out. So it's nice to have somebody to hang out with. My mom now has a walker, so she walks with a walker. So it's really hard for her to be mobile. So she doesn't like to leave her house much. So we have to like, Mom, let's go eat out to eat or whatever. So we try to make sure she goes out to eat at least once or twice a week. That way she gets out of her house. Otherwise, she will never get her vitamin D, you know? And so, yeah.
Mm.
So that's what happens here. Yeah. So I hope you do, you do have your mom have a good report and so on. Okay. All right. So now I've talked to Albert and I've talked to Ellie Rose and now Elizabeth was next. So Elizabeth, what's up with you? Thank you again, Ellie Rose. Yeah.
Thank you,
Yes,
Doc.
ma'am.
Thank you. I like your top, by the way. That's nice. Anyway, and Elizabeth, what's up with you? Have you, let me see if I've met you before. Is this your first time?
It's my first time, but I have joined you, I think last month, but I do not have clear. My internet was slow, so it's not clear to me. So I just left
Okay.
the 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 Zoom meeting because I cannot hear. But now it's okay.
Okay, that's
Can
good.
you
I'm
hear me
glad.
now?
Yeah, I'm glad. Do you have, if I have your resume and cover letter, then you're on my list, you will get the invitation. So if you have not done that, make sure you send it to me under McCullough Marlena at Gmail. And you can see it under my name and how to spell it. Okay, so last name, first name at Gmail. You have it?
Yes,
I mean, you've
ma'am.
sent it to me? I don't remember.
You have
I think
already sent email back, and you even advised me to apply in Catholic schools because my major is in religious education. Since do
I
you
remember
remember
now.
that?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I am a Bachelor of Secondary Education graduate, but all my experiences are in the elementary.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have to have that alignment where if your degree is in elementary, then you need to have your experience in elementary. And I notice a lot of misalignment there where you have your degree in one and then have the experience in the other. If you are in that situation, make sure that you fix that. Have at least 2 years that match your degree. So if you have like you need 2 years of at least elementary if you are elementary and you've always been teaching high school, because they won't let you in the sponsors would not let you go through, would not approve you if you don't have that alignment. Okay. And
Ma'am, I
sometimes, huh?
need to enroll in an ECE course, or do I need to have unit for that?
Um, what are you talking about? Like, for example, if you want to teach special ed, for example, special ed, then you get your master's on special ed because the requirement is that you have to have at least 2 years of teaching experience in the field where you have your degree in, plus a master's degree. So if you don't have your
Oh,
master's, then you're not ready because you need to get your master's and try to get your master's aligned to what you're doing. So if you have been teaching, you've been teaching special ed, then you need to go ahead and take the master's in special ed, and that will show the alignment. Okay? Good question there. Okay? So any other question that you have for me? What other questions do you have while you have me here?
problem with me, ma'am. Um, I I only have completed the academic requirements in special education. But then my um specialization is in the giftedness.
Masirong gyapon daddy.
That's part of it. Yeah,
Means
you're
that
right. Rosemary is right. That's under the same
Hello.
umbrella. Hi, Rosemary. That's the same umbrella.
Hello, good evening.
Okay, special gifted, special ed, and giftedness is under the exceptional needs. Okay, they are the extreme end. Okay, so then you're teaching the
yes,
kids that are having problems, but then you're teaching the ones that are overly, gifted. So it's at the
yes,
opposite end. It's under the same umbrella. That's still
yes.
considered
How
special ed, actually, special education. Huh?
can I apply with that?
Um, you were what?
I still apply with that only completed academic requirements.
I do not have any
Or
idea.
do I
You need to get your FCE, your foreign credential evaluation, because that will tell you the equivalence. Do you have the FCE already?
already have?
Okay, what did the FCE say? Does FCE say that you have your master's or no?
36 units credited to giftedness
Okay,
in
and you
special
have
education.
that. Yeah. then you have that. Different states have different requirements. The big thing is that you're gonna have your, of course, your alignment, okay, your credential and your experience, and the third thing is your praxis. Okay, everybody, all the 50 states will require you to have a praxis in the area that you are gonna be having the alignment in. Okay, so for example, I have both secondary and elementary. So my praxis was where, I'd have to take some in both. And then I focused in literacy. I'm a K-12 literacy specialist, so I had to take classes to take tests on that too. So I have so many
Oo,
different tests I took, and
better.
then became an administrator. I took a test on that too. So I have that, administration license. And then I did my other degree in district level. So not just the school level, but also as a district level administrator. So my license had so many, like more than more than a dozen things in it, listing all kinds of things that I'm qualified to teach. And so you can do that. You can add things to your license, so that you can just submit the paper to prove that you have that extra licensure, and then they will add it to your license. Okay, and a lot of the states here do not really give you the license reciprocity until you get here. But I always say the three that would give it to you online are Maryland, New Mexico, and Illinois. So you have, if you have been following my Facebook things, I have included those. There's a list. There's a one that I did a poster with all the Department of Education stuff in it. So, Debbie, did you notice that, Debbie, that I posted all kinds of things on the website on the ITSA? Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, Elizabeth, those are really good points you're making. So, yeah, I want you to Google since your religious studies is your focus, you might want to really Google find out first what state you want to be in. Okay. So once you know, like you say, oh, I have a friend in New York, so I want to stay in New York. So you need to Google Catholic schools in New York, because most of them, there are a lot of private schools, but they are religiously affiliated. So since you're a Catholic, you may want to do Catholic schools in whatever state, okay? Because I have done some accreditation visit. I'm a lead, so I actually would do accreditation visit for their accreditation, and I went to New York and in Brooklyn, and oh, you will be so pleasantly, nicely surprised, because the Catholic schools act like the Filipino kids in the public school there. So they're very well behaved, very well behaved. They're like always so, they're not like all over the place. They're so well behaved because the parents are paying for tuition. And here
Yeah.
in the public school, they're not paying, it's free. So the kids are not afraid. But here, the parents work so hard to pay for the money, and it's not cheap. So the parents pretty much like, okay, if you're going to stay in the private school, you better behave yourself, or else we're going to move you back to the public school where the number is so big. The number of students are big. Like that one that I went to, they have less than 20 kids in the classroom, but they have, and there are as many as 30 in some places. I think most of the places, like in Arkansas, we cannot do more than 30. I think 28 or something. Some people can do 30, but the higher grades, elementary, they have a lower number. Okay, so if you're an elementary school teacher, you're gonna expect a lot less. So Debbie, is this your experience in California? Because different states have different rules too. Debbie, what's your experience on the classes number in California?
With my program right now, doctor, it's in RSP and resource specialist program. So we only have at least 12 students
Yeah.
because we are specializing on kids that have learning challenges.
Yeah. So the number, they are also limited on that. So they would have, 8, 10, 12. When I was my first 4 years of teaching, I was actually the Title One math and Title One reading teacher for 4 years, which was, these are kids that did not qualify to be special, but they just struggled. So they were put in my room. I had a full-time paraprofessional and aide. So they were there. And then we served like from first grade to sixth grade. And I only had 70 kids. And that's like, so that means that there were six classes. So you're talking about 12 kids average. And there's two of us. So I would have like maybe eight and she would have four. So she had this little kidney table and she would have four and I would have eight. But I grouped the kids that were having the same needs and I kind of pretty much individualized it. So they have their individual folder. So then, so I would do like a mini lesson that would cover everybody, and then they will do their own, their own little thing that they're addressing. So that's the nice thing about literacy because you can always do the skills that you want them to do, and then do specific skills that showed up in their pretest that they need help on. Okay, especially on writing or whatever, whatever specific writing skills that they need. So I may have done a mini lesson on general writing skills, but then I will do specific things with each kid. So I was very busy because I was keeping up with the kids' different skills. So I have paperwork, like we allowed ourselves, like at the end of the day, we did paperwork. So we made sure that we know where kids were, what they are, do they need to continue on this skill or do we need to come up with another thing for tomorrow? So my aide and I, my professional paraprofessional and I didn't have to involve her, but I did because to me it's a partnership. I always treated my paraprofessional like they are my partners. I know they didn't have the degree I did. They didn't, they may have 2 years degree or even some college only, but I treat them like my equal. Like we are both teachers in this classroom. In the eyes of students, we are both teachers. We're not like I'm higher than you or anything like that. I don't want that. I don't want that little layer like that. We are all teachers in the eyes of the kids. And I think that's what I would recommend you do when you have a paraprofessional in your classroom. Treat them like the professional that you should be treated or you should be treating them. And I think that helps because she felt empowered. Like she didn't feel like, she had that confidence. Like, Miss McCullough, at that time I was Miss McCullough. Miss McCullough trusted me that I can do this. And these are your kids. These are your kids. Make decisions on them. What do you think? Because these are the four you are assigned. So you know these kids better than I do. So what do you think about this? Does these kids need to move on or do we need to stay on the scale or what is it? And then let's go find some things that would work for them, for these kids. So we were like getting their stuff ready the day before. So we did that every single day. So our planning. So you can do something like that. Be that organized. Do not ever wing it. That's what they call it, wing it. You have a wing right there by you, Debbie. Winging it means you're not planning. You're just like, okay, I'm just gonna do whatever. Don't do that. Especially if you're working with kids like the identified kids that needed help. Special ed kids and the Title One kids. They call them Title One because there is a Title One funding from the government that actually pay for that. And at that time, they were like requiring us to show 2% growth. And my average was always 19%, 20%, whatever. So they were really excelling. And it's not because of me, it's because they really enjoyed the class. I made it fun. I had, for the math classes, I had manipulatives for them to play, to do things with, so they remember it. And I made sure they memorized the multiplication table. I think third grade and up, that's a must that they have to memorize the multiplication table. And that's one thing I noticed as an administrator observing students and teachers that several of our high school students here in America do not know their multiplication table. That's a sad thing because they're so used to calculators. I mean, it's open to have them use calculator, but to me, ABC and multiplication tables are the two things that students should know and should memorize. Okay, so I'm just very big on that because I have seen how they struggle in algebra and other math because they messed up on their multiplication. They struggle in division because they did not master their multiplication. So I'm very big about like if I'm watching a math teacher, I better see that there's mastery already in your multiplication facts. So I had them, I would introduce the whole, like the first week, this is our table 7. I would start with table 7 because of the weeks. Week 1, 7 days. So we would say 7, 0, 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, 56, 63, 70. I mean, my kids are so fluent about that when they're lining up for recess. Okay, table 7. And they start doing that. Whoever's the fastest, okay, get to be number 1, first one to go. And all that. So they would have it memorized. So they have the fluency. Okay, and so when everybody's got fluency, I have a poster there where they keep up with it. They already got their sticker there that they mastered it. And so now we move on to the next table. And all that. So if you did that, we had our Well, back then it was okay. Now they are like, they don't really want this to happen, like speed test back then. And this is what we have to remember. This is in the 90s. I taught in 91. So this was in the, first part of 90s. And we were doing speed test every day. So what you do is that your your fourth graders will have 6 minutes. You put 6 minutes for 100 problems, 100 multiplication problems. And of course, if I'm studying the table 7, I put a lot of table 7 problems there, right? And anyway, and then fifth graders will have 5 minutes, and then your sixth graders will have 4 minutes. Okay, that's how much you time for 100 problems. And of course, for the you can go from there for your fourth and third and so on. So anyway, just adjust it by a minute, down. And I told them, I think I said this before, we're at home. So if they have any problems, that they have problems, we had this little index card that they'll make the little problems that they have they are struggling in, and then I send it home with in a little Ziploc bag, and they study that with a parent or somebody. So it's being put in their communication notebook. I'm having problems with 6 times, 7 times 6 and 7 times, 8. And so then they'll have that. They have to have it switched to 7 times 8 and 8 times 7. They have to write that down and the answer. And then they have to so the question in the front and the answer in the back. So some some parents, if they don't have that much education, they might need that little extra help for the answer in the back. So that's why I have them to put it there. So I tell them a little key for your parents to check or whatever. And so anyway, so you have to consider that too. But so having that communication notebook then was able to tell the parents that, oh, this is where my child is. My child is struggling in this one. So when I had my parent teacher conference with them, then I talk about it like, oh, thank you so much for helping your child. Your child is so good at this now. Remember I can tell that you were helping at home because I saw the difference. And then having them to like, everybody's got a microwave here. So microwave, like, wash the potatoes and all that, and have the parent help, stab the potatoes with a fork. And then I usually wrap it with the plastic, saran wrap thing, and put it in a microwave for 4 minutes. And so while they're doing their speed test, so when they get done, they have potatoes to snack. And then with the potatoes, you have your little sour cream and butter and all the other things they want to put in there. And that's their snack while they're doing their math. So I would suggest that. Parents said, good idea. And when the kids like, well, I don't like potatoes. I'm like, okay, do popcorn. You can do your popcorn. So you can pop your popcorn, and then whenever it's done, then you can eat your popcorn. Anything like that, just kind of something creative and fun, but then you're involving home. Okay. So I'm telling you, in this particular Zoom, you never know where we're going to go to, depending on what you all bring. Because it reminds me of my experiences. Some of the things like math, for example, I sent them a backpack. We had this backpack, and they would have like an animal for that year that they would choose, like a stuffed animal. So that one year, they wanted some a panda. So I had to look for a panda, to look for a panda stuffed animal, and then they named the panda. That's their class panda. And then they had a little notebook that comes with a panda, and they write. So whoever gets to take that backpack home with the manipulative, whatever it is that we're sending as math, and they have to do it with the family, and then they write in the perspective of the panda. So the panda, if the panda's name is Susan, so Susan would write like, oh, when I came in the so-and-so's house, I can smell the bacon, I could smell the whatever. So what they smell, what they see, what they hear, and then they have with dialogue on what's being said, they practice their little a quotation, how to use quotation marks, because so-and-so said this, whatever. And of course, I tell them that, well, anything private that you don't want to share, do not be writing these things down because your parents not going to want that. So also have common sense. But at that time, it was more of it's an extra thing that they enjoyed it because they want to share it. So we have our morning meeting, and whoever brought Panda home would get to share. Okay, this is what Panda saw. Here's what Panda heard. So I've had the science, the 5 senses there. Okay, so their sense of observation, and in the sense of being told in the perspective of the panda. Bear is always like a really common thing that they want to say, and then so they would have black bear, they would have brown bear. So I had to look at a Gaisano equivalent here, which is Walmart, and I had to look for this. What size is it? It has to fit the backpack we have. I cannot get a really big one because then it won't fit inside, you know. So so anyway, so we had that. So we had a little kind of class pet or math pet, whatever. You can do it in literacy as well. They can write or whatever. And then of course I had learning stations where they actually have real pets. You know, spider. We had a pet tarantula one year. And I'm not crazy about spider, okay? But I draw a line in the snake. When they wanted to have a pet snake, nope, 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 nope. I will draw a line on that because one of our neighboring teacher had a pet snake and it escaped. And you know how you know where the snake was? You can hear the screaming of another teacher, because they went to the room. Okay. So I said, I am putting a line on that. And another thing that I did was I messed up and I said yes to a mouse, to pet mouse, because I thought they're cute. Oh my God, they stink so bad. Don't do that. Okay. Don't do pet mice. And then I'm like, okay. And then they're having babies, lots of babies. And I'm like, I don't want all these mice, it's in a big cage. But then I said, so I asked a teacher with a snake, can we like provide you with mice for your snake to eat? When my kids found out about it, they were so sad. Are you feeding our mice to Miss so and so's snake? I said, guys, we cannot have 6 mice in this cage. We started with one and then two, and then we didn't know that was male and female and all this. So that was not a good thing. That never happened again because when you come in my room, even though we cleaned, it smells so bad. We put like this little shavings, they call them little shavings to, for them like a mat. And then we change that and all that. It still smells so bad. So don't do pet mice. Okay, the principal was like, Miss Merlina, I didn't really want to tell you, but I figured you'll figure it out. And like, yeah, I figured it out. I wish you told me before I said yes to my students. You learn. But I happened to work with some really good principals that knew that I have, I guess I had my heart in the right place. I just didn't know any better. So sometimes you get lucky to have principals like that. And sometimes they would be so frank and tell you, this is not going to work. And I said, okay, tell me why. And then they will tell me. And I'm like, yep, you're right. It would not work. But anyhow, yeah. So that's something that you could do in your classroom. Elementary. I'm doing elementary. Don't do that in high school, of course. But high school is a totally different deal. Here in high school, my last high school thing, you know what they like? Coffee and tea and all these other drinks. So I asked the principal, can I have a Keurig in my classroom? You know what a Keurig is? For those that are still in the Philippines, you might not know this, but Abby would know this. It's like a coffee maker that's individual thing that you can make their own coffee. And they love to earn that. So I have this little sticker chart, and when they reach a certain line there, they can go get coffee or hot chocolate. And because they're high school, 11th grade, we don't have to worry about getting burnt. So I have this little coffee, little container, that is disposable. And then they're so proud. They're like, oh, I'm making my own coffee and I'm having my little snack thing there while they're working. And then I will give them sky flakes to go with it, and it's like coming from our country. And all that, they feel so big. They like coming to my class because I'm gonna maybe earn my coffee today or my tea or my hot chocolate, And then Friday we had our popcorn. We always had our popcorn Friday. And then so we earn, if we read a book, for example, Book Thief was always a favorite of the high school for some reason. Book Thief. And then we had read it or whatever, and then we would watch the movie. Because a lot of times we do that on a Friday, but then I always have them to write a comparison between a movie and the book. And the conclusion is always the book is always better than the movie because they always skip a lot of details. Like even Harry Potter. Harry Potter stays really close to the book. Still, they still have details they cannot put in there because there's no way with the length. You have to do somehow piece it together with some of the things in order for them to make fit and still have the time element that you have to stay within the boundary, right? Okay. Now I'm just talking all this. Remember the 6-2, 10-2, 10 minutes me and 2 minutes you. Now let's process this. So you always do this in your classroom. Let's process this. I've been talking to Debbie, but any of you, what are your comments on the things that I shared about the pets, about sending manipulatives home and the pet animal? Any of those that I shared, what are the things that you might have picked up? Like, do you think it's a good idea? What is it? Anybody? Debbie and anyone else? Tell me your idea about that. Rosemary, I know you have a good idea.
Hel-
What do you think about that,
Hello,
Rosemary?
good evening, Dr.
Good evening.
Merlina,
Yes.
and to all. I think it's very informative. Like, it's a good strategy to get the attention of the students. And I think the students would really love it.
Yeah, they do. The
Yeah,
sharing
yeah,
part, they
yeah.
put them in a like a star role, like, oh, this is what happened in my home. So it's also the knowledge of students part. I'm very big on that. Like you have to get to know your kids. You get to know about the families of these kids.
Yeah,
Some of the details that they put in are quotes like they have a very naughty brother, a naughty sister, they would always joke about things, and that's how they do in quotes. So we would do some analysis, like, okay, this quote said this. So what kind of sister do you think this her sister is, or his sister is, or the brother, or whatever? And so yeah, it really was fun. It really
yeah,
was fun.
yeah.
I hope you try it. Do you do anything innovative like that? Do you have any creative things that you do in your classroom that you want to share?
Uh, Only in the beginning of classes, like, by the way, I'm a science teacher in high school.
Okay.
And in order for me to establish rapport with my students, so in the very first day of classes, I would ask my students to share something about their self or about their family.
Mm-hmm.
So in that way, I would be able to know if what are their interests
Mm-hmm.
and how they are in their family, how many are there in the family, what are their background, and that's it. And I would also ask them what they want to become when they grow up.
Yeah.
So
Love
in that
that.
way,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, in that way, I could see that, and that's the our starting point where I would always tell my students, or I'll gonna motivate them to do good in school, and so that they'd be able to achieve what they want. And every now and then, during classes, I would remind them, "Oh, you're my soldier, remember?"
Mm-hmm.
I would
Good.
always do that to
Love
them. "Oh,
that.
you're my doctor." Yeah, I
Yeah.
would always tell them,
Awesome. Yeah.
"Remember, remember. That's why
Yeah.
you have to do good. You have to participate. Just remember, this is your ambition. You want to become a doctor, a nurse."
Nice.
And yeah, yeah, that's what I always do in the beginning of classes. So I always make sure not to forget what the students, here in the Philippines, we have 40 students, 40 to 45.
That's a lot.
Sometimes, yeah, then I am handling 6 sections.
Oh, that's a lot, you
Yeah,
guys.
that's a lot.
Oh, we have a
Yeah, yeah,
limit
that's a
of
lot.
150. Usually it's a limit of 150. It's a whole
Oh, that's
number.
very
Yeah.
nice.
That's a very common limit here. So
That's
yeah,
why I'm looking forward. I hope soon.
coming here. Yeah, I think doing the goal thing is a good idea. You may want to add like having a bulletin board of their what they are, want to be. And a lot of times I did a lot of, right now taking pictures of them and then having the print it, we always every classroom
Oh,
usually have
I
your
like it.
printer. Yeah. And if
Like,
you
I'm gonna print them with their profession, like
yeah,
that,
you can
and
do
put
that.
them in the
And yeah,
bulletin. Oh,
so you put
I
their
like
names
it.
on them and
Thank
they
you,
put,
thank you
yeah,
for that.
put that. And so it's a really good visual for them to, and for you too. So you
Yeah.
don't have to remember 45 things they want to be, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard for me to remember, like in every section.
Yeah.
Sometimes I forget. So I
Yeah.
would just ask them, "Oh, by the way, what are you again?"
Again, yeah, yeah. And you don't have to do that on all your classes. Do that on your homeroom, the
Oh
ones that
yeah,
you,
oh
yeah.
yeah,
Do that with your homeroom because that's a lot. Otherwise, you're talking
of
300 kids,
course, of
yeah.
course. Yeah,
So close to 300 kids. So yeah, that's one thing that you do because their classroom should be your all's classroom, not just the teacher's classroom. It should be everybody's classroom. So my classroom, like I would start with my summer. I would always share about this is what my summer was and so on. Now tell me about your summer. What did you do? And well, I didn't do anything. My parents, were always working. I'm like, yeah, but you did something at home. It's okay. And this is what I remembered the story about this boy that said, if I could go anywhere in the world, and he said, I want to be at home. And I said, home? Really? Do you love your home that much? So, well, I really want to go to San Francisco, but I can't spell it. But I can
oh,
spell home. I'm like, no, this is not the kind of classroom it is. You're not going to get in trouble for misspelling something. I would rather have you to sound it out. You can ask for a friend because remember, so it's going to be a three before me rule. Before you ask me, you have to ask three people. So you can always ask your group because there's always a group of four is what I always did. So you ask the three people in your group. And then if you all do not know the answer, then you ask me. And then that will reduce your number of like, everybody's asking for you, a piece of you, and there's only one of you, and there's 20 of them. So if you do a three before me rule, then you always ask, okay, did you ask the three people in your group? Then they are all stumped. They don't know the answer. Then they ask you. Okay. So, and we have presidents and vice president. They always can go to that too. If I'm
Yeah.
busy, ask your president, ask the vice president, whatever. So they have roles of leadership in my classroom. So they always know that it's not just
Okay.
me. You can ask anybody else in your room. Okay, you have a secretary, you have the treasurer, we have the drill sergeant. We have different roles that they play that they would always know that they could depend on each other. That I don't have the all power. You all have the power too in our classroom. Okay. So have a classroom
Yeah.
like that, and it's going to be a democratic classroom, and it's much more organized and much more disciplined because they are so accountable of each other. Because I always have point system for every team. So team one, two, three, four, whatever name they call it, they have that poster for their team that we would always like keep up with their scores. And you can do like on your board team one, team two, team three, team four, whatever their names are, and put the point system. And whatever you spell out something, for example, if they spell out pizza, then that team will get pizza party from you. That's why I've done that. Or the whole class can spell pizza. I'll do capital P and then the capital the stroke and then another one and then the capital I. So it has to have the top and the bottom. So it's gonna take a long time to spell it. And then if they really mess up, sorry, we have to erase one mark because everybody did not have homework. Everybody was like so loud or whatever. Do you think that do we deserve to have another mark or do we deserve to have one mark taken off? And they would say, "Oh, take it off." And I'm like, "Well, sorry, you have to watch better. This is accountability for us." Okay. But do not be like always be taking it out because that's discouraging because they earn so much and then you just take it out really quickly. To me, it was so hard to take it back. Like it has to be really bad before I would take it back. Okay, so make sure that you have some kind of positive reinforcement like that. So they have the individual one. So they have their little chart for the individual that they could reach. Anytime they reach that line in my chart, then they can go to my treasure chest. And my treasure chest was loaded with things that they want. Colored pencils, some stickers that smell good. I would go to yard sales here and they would have like this big box of yard sale things like those giveaways from McDonald's and Burger King and all those places. They have those little giveaways. And some parents would sell the whole thing. Like I bought one for a whole $5 and it was so much. So that the kids like I said, but they have a limit. If you're gonna go to my treasure chest, a big one, parang kaban big chest, you cannot, they have a limit of how long they can be there because I don't want them wasting time. So like, okay, go choose what you want. In fact, during your break, be looking around and see. So you already know what you want. Okay? Because my secretary is in charge of it anyway. So my secretary, like, all right, time's up. You need to pick one now, and all this. So yeah, I have so many things like that where they're earning things. So they're always not boring because they know that they're gonna do this and it's gonna be worth something. That they're gonna, if they visit the learning stations, they have a little clipboard on each station and they're gonna write. And we have like so many. If you visited all the stations already, you get a prize, all that. So you have things that they can do for early finishers. So my students know that if I do my work and Ms. McCullough sees that it's good quality work, I can go to the center of my choice. And there's a limit of 3 or 4 people in the center. That way you don't have a bunch of people in the center. I was a chess coach. So I have this one station there with just a couple of chess boards. And then they put their sticky note about who's playing. So they cannot take it down until they ask those 2 people, are you done? Can we take it down? Okay, or take a picture of it so that way you can set it up back again later. Okay, so those are things that you use technology like that. Okay, but then have them to earn something, and they love that. I had a math station where they were building things. You're building the 3D model of things, and so they like that. And of course, they cannot take it out either without the permission of whoever did it. So okay, let me take a picture first. That way they'll have a remembrance of it, and then now you can take it apart. So little things like that, back to respect. Okay. So what other things? Thank you for sharing that, Rosemary. What you can
You're
add with yours,
welcome.
Rosemary, is maybe like this is what I've done is paper clip, like a big giant paper clip, and ask them to choose between 3 to 5 paper clips. Don't tell them why. And so if they pick 3, then they have to share 3 things about their life. Okay, five, they have to share five things about themselves. Yeah, you can do something like that, or it doesn't have to be paperclip. It could be relating to science, anything about science, and they can
Yeah.
choose it, and then they would share something about themselves, and then I would pick them up. Once they shared it, I would pick up the things. I've done that with teachers; they loved it. So my thing with teachers is like, tell three things that your colleagues do not know about you. So we did not know that so and so collect this. So we didn't know that so and so had gotten to this country, had visited, Russia or whatever it was that they have visited that nobody knew because it was when they were younger. If somebody had backpacked through Europe, they did not know that, and they had opportunity to share that. But in my workshop, they were able to share more about themselves because my point is that you all get to know each other as much as I get to know you, but you also need to learn about each other because that's building a strong community. You have a strong
Yeah,
classroom
yeah.
community when you know each other. You care about each other like you do siblings, brothers and sisters. And then we have a Miss McCullough's rule where what goes here stays here. It's like a Vegas rule, but you cannot say Vegas rule. What stays here, what happens here, stays here. You do not go out there and blab around in the parking in the playground saying, "Oh, do you know that so and so did this?" Don't do that. This is a family, our family. You do not go and gossip about what's going on in our class, to the others because somebody would report, and that's a big violation. Somebody report, do you know that so and so was talking about whatever, I'm like, okay, so how do we take care of this? The president would take care of it. The judge, he would appoint a judge. The judge would would rule on it. So anyway, so it's like a very democratic classroom. Okay, you can do that. That's why fourth grade was my favorite grade because I was really able to do a lot of that. And high school is kind of hit and miss. You have to know them and to see what they like.
Yeah.
They like role play. For some reason, role play always helped with my eighth graders and my 11th graders. I was doing literacy. So whatever we were reading, they were always role playing it. So I would just say, okay, this scene. Okay, so if there's a scene that I really want them to remember, so I said, okay, I want somebody because they're so used to acting it out because I have introduced myself the beginning of the year, the first 2 or 3 weeks. We know we're always gonna role play. You don't need to be shy around here because this is just us. So I was like, okay, I want some volunteer. I want somebody to be this character. I want somebody to be this character. Now act it out. And I would say, okay, freeze. And they would act it out and freeze. And they're like, okay, then I would talk to the class. Okay, what do you see? What did I would say, so I would do more instruction based on what they were acting out. And it really makes the comprehension better. Like when would ask questions because of the scenes that I know there are going to be questions about in their test or whatever, I made sure that there's some acting out going on so that they will remember it. Because there's any time that you have you're multimodal, that means it's more than just one thing. You do not just see, you do not just hear, but you experience it as well. That's going to make it more meaningful. And that's going to make it where even your kids that are so low or so slow, they'll get it. Okay, they will get it. And with math, what I remember was your gifted kids are not going to be good at the manipulatives because they already went to abstract. They do not really go concrete anymore. Where your special ed are still in concrete. They're the ones teaching the special ed kids. This is how it looked like. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really know how to do this because I just do it in my head. Like, yeah, but I want you to show me how it looks like with this manipulative. And so it's so weird that it is our special ed kids teaching our gifted kids. We call them GT here, gifted and talented. So our GT kids were having problems with manipulative. Well, can I just like not use it? Can I just like to do it in my head? No, I want you to see. I want you to see in concrete what it looks like because I want you to show it. All this. So they were, yeah, they always want to beg for. I want to skip using manipulatives, but I don't let them beg off of that because I think they should experience showing it. So that if you're going to be asked to help someone, you need to be able to use these manipulatives and show them how exactly that works. That's why I tease my husband. My husband is an engineer, right? He's an electrical engineer, very smart. So he has done a lot of higher math. But when we have high school kids that would ask to be tutored step by step, my husband would be so above them. He would not, like, I said, dear, you can't do that. You cannot just tell them that you have to do step by step. Just like when he taught me how to drive. And he said he didn't tell me that when you slow down, you have to like make it, put get your gas, your foot off the gas, so it will be slowing down, and then you turn over. You turn. He just said I was doing 55 miles, like this, and he said, turn. And he didn't say the steps. So I just turned. Oh my gosh, I nearly hit somebody's porch. It was like, oh my gosh. I was so scared. And I said, dear, can't do that. You have to tell me like I do with students. Step one, this is what you do. Step two, this is what you do. You slow down to whatever, 20, 20 before you turn safely. Okay. You do not just like have me turn when I'm in the middle of 55 or 60 miles per gallon. You know, it, so the same way, in our classroom, we do step-by-step things. In fact, I actually write down step one, this is this. Step two, this is it. And that's very visual. That's always, I do a lot of that. You can see my board. I have some pictures I was looking and I saw behind me on my pictures, oh, step one, step two, step three. And I'm like, yeah, I forgot I did that a lot, because that's how I supported my struggling learners, my special ed kids when I was doing the extra visual by having them show the steps. Because we have to remember that according to research, our lower kids can only handle three to four things. And your gifted and talented kids will be more than that. But as adults, we can handle 6 to 7 things. That's all. So if you write these things down, then they write this down in their notebook, and then they can have a way to refer back. And that's why having in the Philippines, we are so good at taking notes. Like that is something that I felt I did not struggle in when I came to America. And I don't want to be bragging, but it's like call them humble bragging. But we don't want to humble brag and say, I actually excelled here. I was all A's all the way to doctorate, and I was doing that in the Philippines. So because I am a good test taker, I'm a good at note taking. I note take like crazy, and then so even now when I'm attending a PD, professional development, I take notes like crazy. I'm over there taking, like this on I have like shortcut stuff now, of course, students, I put SS, teacher, I just put T. If it's teachers, I put an STS. I would do shortcut like that. And I'm taking notes like crazy. But now you have apps. You don't even have to take notes. Use apps that would just do the text and it will just like type for you. So all I have to do when I get done with a meeting, because I already have my app with I have my iPhone, and I would just have it to take notes, and I will just like do spacing, because it would just make a complete mess, a bunch of words. So I just like put a little, like bullets or whatever in it, but it's taking notes for me. So every meeting that I have ever attended, because as a consultant, I still have to attend some of the trainings, some required trainings that we do. And I would go back to my notes and say, okay, what was, because I put down there the dates and who was doing the meeting, who was conducting it, and then who was attending it, and all that. You say 46 people attended, whatever. I would just like put details like that so I remember. And yeah, use your notes, guys. Most of the phones now have notes feature. I use it like crazy. Okay, I would do notes. Like I don't ever write things down on the paper now. When I go to the grocery store, I go to my notes. And so now in some of the stores, it might be a bit Debbie's in California, they'll be ahead. There's some places there now where you have this little, as part of your cart. You have a calculator thing there that has as part of your cart now. So anyway, I've seen it on TV. I have not experienced it. But the Philippines, by the way, we are very ahead there on the self-checkout. When I went in 2018, there was already self-checkout everywhere, right? Now it's just now becoming so popular in the US. So we're a little behind, at least in Arkansas anyway. So now, but I'm thinking, wow, the Philippines was ahead. Cebu was way ahead. 2018, my last visit there. This is before COVID. Checking out like crazy already. Like, used to, my husband would complain like, why are they not efficient? I said, what are you talking about? I said, why do they have to get, like, you buy shoes, you go to the shoe department, they will have somebody will write it down, and then they would have somebody take it down all the way to the customer, thing to check out. And then you have 3 or 4 people involved instead of just, that's what it used to be in Cebu. And so then they got more efficient now. So I was so proud when I saw that. And I'm like, yay, Cebu, you're ahead of the US in some things. Movies, by the way, the movies that come out in Cebu, they are at the same time coming out when New York shows it, when LA shows it. So we're pretty ahead there. So because I knew that because when we went down there, my kids were like, "Mom, it's already here. It's already here." They thought that it's gonna be behind because we are a third world country, a developing country. Nope, we are, and on the movies and all that, we are pretty much matching on the schedule here. So that's something that, I guess I don't ever want the Philippines to be put down because I'm like, hey, I know we might be poor country, but hey, we are ahead in a lot of things. We have more cell phone users in Cebu than anywhere in the world. How I knew I knew that's for true, for real, because every time you go, we're riding this van, right? And we're going into tourist places. I would see people on top of carabaos, on their little hat or carabaos with cell phone on. I took a picture, we're like, oh my gosh, there's like, people in carabaos, doing their cell phone thing. But yeah, we have actually more cell phone users in Cebu. I read that somewhere. It might be written by somebody from Cebu, but but yeah, there were a lot back then. I read it in 2018. So yeah, we are not behind at all in the Philippines, you guys. We are ahead. Do you know that we also have beaten India as the number one outsourcing? We have those IT, those, what's the IT city? What do you call that? IT park thing where you have your people that work at night in order to answer the phone. What do you call them? Those
Call,
what
call
do you call those
center.
jobs, Telimar? What do you call those jobs where they have to answer phones for some
Call
company?
center agent.
What is it?
Call center agents.
Call center
Call
agent.
center agent.
Yeah, we have beaten India actually. The Philippines had beaten India as number one on that because a lot of the companies are moving to, going to the Philippines on the call center stuff. At least that's what I read in 18. It might be different now. But back in the, but of
Agent.
course, when I read something, I always wonder, like, is this really true or is this somebody's opinion? You know, I have to question it in my mind, like, is this really based on facts or is this something that, some writer said that we are ahead? So, just like our students, I always challenge myself to say, to be a critical reader. You have to check if it's a valid source, if it's something that's a reliable source. I always tell students that when you're doing a research, make sure it's a valid and reliable source because sometimes it might be just the opinion of the author. So you make sure that it's a study, and I always tell them, if it's a study based by like a Harvard study or some kind of study that is going to be true, I would believe it. So look for things about facts, about numbers, about, organizations that you can trust. All of those will be good evidence, for that. Anyway, question. There's Mary, is it Mary Kia? Mary Kia, how do you say your name? Mary Kia? Tell me your name.
Very key.
Kia. Oh, it's so
I
cute. I love your
Good
I love
evening.
your mole right here. That's a lucky mole, they say. If you have a mole on your face, you're supposed somebody was like, I think I have a mole somewhere. I have a mole somewhere. Anyway, they said that that's a lucky one. They said that some Chinese folks believe that they want to marry somebody with moles like that because you're lucky for business. Is that true? Are you involved in business at
No,
all, Mary? Hmm?
no, no, no. I I haven't heard any of those beliefs before.
No, but I always hear things, some older folks that would tell me this, and I'm like, really? I'm like, see, I have this mole right here. And they said, oh, Marlena, that's why you're lucky. I'm like, no, it's not because it's lucky, it's because I work hard. It's not because of my mole, but that's that I can't believe nobody said something because they always, yeah. So anyway, so yeah, but that's something that people always notice about you, right? Your mole. And you always have to
Yeah. What they
notice that
say.
yeah, with kids, guys, do the same thing. You notice the visual things you notice. Like when you're here with me, I always notice some of them and say something positive, of course. But like hairs, I would say the American kids, especially our African American kids, our black kids, black boys and girls, the black girls, they love their hair done. You will, if you're working right in the Delta, in part of Arkansas, for example, their hair. I mean, I would ask them, said, "Girl, how long did that take you to get your hair done? 12 hours, 14 hours?" And I'm like, and their hair is so beautiful. I had a classmate before in our doctorate program. She would come in every week with a different hair. And I'm like, And she said, we were joking with her, like, I bet your husband thinks he's got a different wife every week. She's lucky that her sister was actually a beauty salon owner. So she would do her hair, right? Because otherwise you can't afford it. It's expensive. It's like some hair that could be done could be $400 or $500. And these are high school kids, you guys. So some parents are spending money because it lasts them a while. They don't take it down immediately. Unlike me when I went to the Caribbean and I took it within 2 days because it was so itchy, but they're used to it. And they have some things they put into to make it like where it's not miserable. So that's something that you need to know for students, that it's something the Philippines do not do or other countries do not do. And I think if I call, how do you say Ganiyato, Tihani? Ganiyato, what country? Are you from another country? Ganiyato,
Yeah, I'm from Ghana.
you're from Ghana, right? So tell me about the Ghana students. Are they doing their hair too like we do in America?
Oh yeah, they do their hair.
Yeah, they do, right? And I
Yeah, the
think they're so
Ghanaians do
beautiful.
they do their hair.
Well, see,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in the
That's
Philippines,
for I think the no basic school students. Usually those are the public school. They don't do their hair. They do short hair. They cut their hair short.
oh, they do. Okay.
But those are the private. Yeah, those are the private school. They
Yeah.
do their hair
But here,
however style they want to.
but here in America, the public school kids do it. And
Oh,
they
okay.
have kids in poverty, but their parents, think that's a very important priority. That's part of their kids' requirements in their mind. Because some of my friends were, African American mothers, and they would tell me, Marlena, that's like a big thing for us. That's like a big thing for our kids. So we take care of that. And I'm like, oh, Stephanie, I look back at my daughter, Stephanie, who's 35 now. We didn't have that. I even was the one that said, Stephanie, let's color your hair. I thought, no, mom, I'm not touching my hair. Still, Stephanie still does not color her hair at all. I would say things like, Stephanie, let's have our nails done together, whatever. So
Yeah.
she thought that was a
I'm
waste of
sorry
money.
I can't come on video.
Huh?
I'm sorry I can't come on video because I'm at a very busy place. That's why I can't come on video.
Oh.
Hello?
You cannot do what? I cannot hear very well.
Hello?
Hello?
This can Yeah, I'm sorry I can't come on video because I'm at a very busy place.
Ah,
That's
okay. Yeah. It's all right. It's all right. I see your pretty face though. So yeah, it's fine. We could hear you. I am having problems now with hearing anymore. And in fact, I'm gonna be making an appointment. I have never been to a hearing doctor or an eye doctor, never. And so this will be my first time in my 50s. I'm nearly 60. And so anyway, so some of my friends cannot believe, in America, they cannot believe, Merlina, you have never been to an eye doctor? We go to eye doctor even when we were young. And I'm like, in the Philippines, if we don't need to go, we don't go. Like I don't have any problems with, now I'm having problems seeing small things. So I always have to have my glasses now, but we didn't have any problems. Why do I have to go? And so then one of my friends was actually, she said, I'm gonna Google this. So she was Googling it, like about Philippines and seeing an eye doctor. And it really says there that, in the Philippine culture, we do not go unless we really need to go. Our US kids, they do go really early. Okay, my students, I have never had any student that said they've never been to an eye doctor because they have been checked, but not me, yeah, because I've always had good sight. You have to have, of course, when you take your driver's license, you have your eyes checked. They have those, lines that you have to read. And I know that the last time that I had to do that, some of the lines, the smaller lines, are now very like hard to read for me. So I know my eyes are really affected. So, and I just do not want to be told to wear glasses all the time. I don't mind when I wear this to read, but when have to be told, that you have to wear this 100%, I think I'll go with laser. My husband had his laser thing done for his eyes, and he went to 2020. He's got really good eyes now. But I don't know about somebody, I don't know, somebody doing my eye like that because it sounds scary to me that they are, but they are now in America, they're so modern that they are now can do that, do so many of that. I went with a friend to drive her because it was 2 hours away, and she asked me if I could drive her. And so, of course, I sat there on all her, talking to the doctor and so on. So I got to see what they do. And so they have all these fancy things that they use in their office to see. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even know they invented those. How much they can see from the back and, of your eyes and so on. So that was really amazing to me. But anyhow, I digressed. But talking about that, to connect it back to your students, is that you have to observe these things, because some of your students that would be squinting like this, they would be squinting, and that's when you would tell the parents that, hi, have you had your child's eyes checked, because I noticed that this child was squinting, and so I had to move this child right in the front, because, and I remember what I said, especially in high school, they think that in America, they think that if you are being moved to the front, they're being punished. So, so I usually would say things like, a question is always kinder than a statement. So I would say, do you want to move to the front? So that you can see better, instead of like, hey, move to the front. See, that's very bossy. But if you make it into a question, this works with students, this works with your husband, your spouses. Use a question instead of a statement. It's kinder. It makes it sound like they have input, and it makes it sound like you're not being bossy. Okay. And then, especially if you use my two favorite words, or not, or not. But anyway, so yeah, in your classroom, remember to remember the words, I guess the choice of words that you used. So choose questions over statements. It's the big clue that I would like to give you, especially when working with American children, because some of them are so, I call them allergic. Some of them are so allergic to, like, if it sounds so bossy to them, they'll call you out. They would say, teacher, you're bossing me around. They would say things like that. And I'm like, as a person from another culture, and I'm sure, Ganiato, you may relate this, you may be able to relate that to this, that I'm like, we're not, our kids, our students in the Philippines, we didn't question like that. But here in America, we have raised our children to question. And I raise my own biological kids to always question, be a critical thinker, but be kind about it. Always being nice about it. Don't be rude to an adult because you think you're smart, because you think adult messed up and you're right. Don't be a smart aleck. Don't be rude. And you say, teacher, I mean, do you mean this? Kind of clarify and all that, but do not, like, they were always like, Mom, do you mean this? And I'm like, yes, sweetheart, thank you. I did not know. I mean, I would mispronounce words. I would, and then just don't correct me in front of my friends. Do that later, because it's embarrassing. Because that is, as a parent with English as a second language, and they were raised here. So I have to pretty much tell my two smart kids, so like, okay, correct me later, okay? And it's okay, I'm open to that. Just don't do it in front of my friends. That doesn't mean they stop, but anyway, but it does happen with students, and that's something that you tell your students too, that you need to remember sometimes it's better to be kind than to be right. So think about it. Is it better to be kind right now, or to be right? Because your gifted kids, you're going to find that your gifted kids are more liable to tell you, because they'd rather be right. And sometimes it would sound rude because they want to be right. They want to prove that they are right. And so, of course, I raised two gifted kids. So that's something that I knew that, the perfectionist side of things of gifted kids, you're going to see that. So be aware of that. That's why it's so important to know your students. So if they're gifted kids, they're going to have those things that might go on. They might be more perfectionist. They want it to be perfect. So raising one or teaching one, you should allow them to have mistakes. That's how you're learning, is have mistakes. And as a teacher, do not be a perfectionist yourself, because you're modeling this. Okay, if you're saying, oh, I have to do this because I want it to be perfect, you don't want your kids to feel that. You should allow them to have that mistake. And so, as a teacher, if I have a mistake, I would say, guys, I have a spy award I give. So if you give me, like, oh, teacher, you mean this or whatever. So I have a spy award. You caught me that I did mess up on that. That answer was wrong. This is a better answer. And then they would tell me, but as long as you're being kind about it, you get the SPY award. Okay, SPY award means that you caught me, but you are being kind about it. Okay, you're being respectful about it. So with schools coming up, those are some rules you may want to talk about. Every year I would tell my students this. Miss McCullough was not born in America. I was 19 years old when I came here. So there might be some things that you will discover that I did not know, and everybody knows that kind of type thing, that you knew it when you were children, and I would not know it. I remembered when I was going to school to be a teacher, one of the courses was children's literature. Of course, all my classmates who were born in America thought that was so easy. We do this. We knew about the Three Little Pigs. We know about, all these different stories. My husband had to teach me all that. And so they were like, he would joke like, oh, do you know, Merlina, I have to teach her about Three Little Pigs. I had to teach her about, all the Goldilocks story and all this. Yeah, and that's true because we have like 20 literature things that we have to summarize and to know. And I had to start over the first 20. Well, I know a bunch of the Filipino culture things they don't know, but I have to do the English one, the American ones. So I have to have notes and all this. Well, they lived it. My 3-year-old grandniece, Sailor, she already knows all this stuff. And I'm like, I had to learn this 2 years before I graduated, with my bachelor's degree, because that's not something that we grew up in. So same thing with you. When you come to America, especially elementary school teachers, your students are going to come up with some literature or some books that they have read that you have not read. Okay. And so just be okay to say, sweetheart, remember, Miss so and so, didn't was not born here. So teach me about it. And they love it. They love it when you say, teach me. I would love for you to teach me because I don't know that. Do you know in our culture? And I would just say things like, this reminds me of a story from our culture. And I would share it with them. And when you do that, there's no you cannot hear a pin drop. It was so quiet. Like they cannot wait to hear the stories from your country. So from Africa, from the Philippines, or wherever you're from, when you come to America, remember, if you're on a J1 visa, it is an intercultural exchange. You're teaching them as much as you're learning from their culture. Okay? So make sure you take advantage of that because they will be wanting to teach you that stuff. But with Disney, thank Disney because most of these things are in movies now with Disney. If you just get the Disney movies, a bunch of these stories that you missed, they have made a movie already. So that's one way that you could do to get ready, guys. When you're here, if you're elementary and you have Disney access to Disney movies, be watching those from Bambi to, Lion King, all those things. Those are all books. Okay, and kids are going to do that as reference in their writing, when they're talking, they're going to talk about those Disney things. So that's something you could also do to prepare yourself to come to America, is be aware of the different literature that they may be exposed to that you might not be. Debbie, is there something that you experienced where your kids knew more about some literature and you still have to learn about it? Because Debbie came to another country, she was from the Philippines, she went to Thailand, and then now she's married to an American, so now she is in California. So Debbie would have some experiences possibly there. Deb, do you have anything you want to share about that?
Nothing much yet, doctor, because I'm still new to the educational system here in the US. So I
Okay.
try not to, I
Okay.
try to, yeah, just be observing first, but I'm learning a lot from what you're saying and sharing, just so I will have that teachability as well when I'm
Okay.
in front
How
of
about in
them.
Thailand though? You were there in Thailand for a few years. Were there some things that they were sharing with
Oh,
you didn't know?
because in Thailand, I was basically just teaching ESL, and
Ah,
they cannot communicate as well to me if there are questions that they want to do. So it was kind of, yeah, the language barrier as well would limit them from asking me more questions.
okay. So, yeah,
To,
I never thought that. Yeah, you're right.
but
ESL
I would
because you
share, but I would share a lot of stuff of the Filipino culture as well.
Yeah, I would encourage you, for whatever country you're from, to always share about yourself. The more, there's a saying that says vulnerability breeds trust. If you're being vulnerable to your students, they're going to trust you more. Okay. And I never, never care about like, oh, I would look bad. No, I would always just like show them I'm human. Like, that's why Miss McCullough had mistake because I'm humans like you guys. I will have mistakes. Please catch me so that everybody learns from it. Okay. So I would never like, oh, how dare you? In our culture in the Philippines, it's almost like the teachers are here and if you as a student, you better not be, like correcting her or whatever. Well, I'm just the opposite. I guess although I was 19 years old when I left the Philippines, but I guess I think like an American that way, that I feel like kids should know. Kids should be okay to say that to you. And the big thing that I would always say, just show respect. You cannot be rude about it. Okay? Because your correction is not gonna matter more if you're being rude to the teacher because the teacher is gonna notice the rudeness first. Okay? It's not gonna be what you're trying to help the teacher learn, but it's about taking care of the rudeness first. Don't be rude. Okay. Just don't be rude. And so, but see, some of our kids, especially if they're an only child and they don't really have much social skills, that's something that you also need to know. Is this child an only child? And is this child spoiled possibly? And they don't know. So they don't know any better. And so you have to say, okay, so and so, can you share? You have siblings at home. How do you do this? How does this look like? I had only children a lot in my classroom that would not want to work in groups. I don't want to go in groups. I just want to work by myself. I'm by myself. I can do this all by myself. And I said, well, do you know that in my classroom, being an island, that means you're by yourself, is actually a punishment because it's pretty much a self-punishment thing because you will enjoy working with your classroom, with your mates, with your team. But so if you are excluding yourself and doing that, then you're punishing yourself, and all that. Look at what you're missing. Look at all the group things that they're doing and presenting and having fun and having role play and so on. And if you do this by yourself, are you going to be able to play 3, 4 different roles? You should do that. You're welcome to do that if you want to. If you're that talented, you're welcome to do that. All this, but they discover later it's not fun, and all that. And so you have kids that I would always allow them to, but I want them to see the difference that teamwork really helps. But there are some times when it's better you know, um, to do individual things, but also knowing, like what Rosemary said about knowing what their career goal might be is also a good thing to remember because you might have a kid, like particular kid I'm thinking, he's wanting to be a researcher. And to be a researcher, when he becomes big, he doesn't have to have those teammates. But we still have, when we do research, we still share some of our researches to others. It's never like you're alone. Although in your particular job, you're in your office, you're doing research things. That's very rare jobs to get. A lot of the job situation, you're going to have to collaborate. And that's why those 21st century skills, those 4 C's, your collaboration, your communication, your critical thinking skills. And what was the fourth one? Collaboration, cooperation. Anyway, so there's a bunch of those C skills for 21st century. Communication. Did I mention communication? Communication, collaboration, critical thinking skills, and I forgot the fourth one. So somebody Google that. Debbie, if you Google that, tell me the fourth one. But anyway, so those are some things that you make sure that you tell the kids. Some of the
The fourth one is creativity.
what is it?
Creativity.
Creativity. That's why I know it was something. Yeah, creativity. And those are some things that AI will not be able to take away from us. Some of those, of course, there are some apps now that are for creative things, but there are some things that humans can still have. Are things that you build something, for example. I do not know if the robots would ever be advanced enough where they're building houses for us. They may design it, but the actual building itself would have to be done by humans, possibly. Like teaching, Debbie and I had this conversation in the past where there are some things that now robots can do better. Khan Academy, for example, he had these things about it's individualized now. He had a lot of things there where it's now individualized instruction, but there's still room for problem solving things together, collaboration, all those things still have to be done with other people. You cannot just be done with AI. Okay, so no, as teachers, we're not going to lose our job. Our job is always going to be, it might evolve, a role may evolve, maybe a different way in the future, but we're always going to be needed, I think, because if we're not needed anymore, then that means our society has advanced so much that we may have to go on to something else. Our role would evolve to something else, more of a guide on the side, a facilitator of some kind, instead of like the giver of information. The AI may be doing that already, but we may still need to guide them and to take them, kind of really take them to the right places and destination that they need to be in order to learn what they're supposed to learn. But sadly, as like for example, Philippines, and some African countries, we are not as rich as like the developed countries. So our technology is not going to be as fast, as theirs are, because they could afford it, right? And like the budget in the U.S. for every child is about $10,000, about, that's average. So that's half a million pesos. I do not know what that is. Ganiyaro, Tihani, what is that in Africa for the $10,000? How much is that in your culture in Ghana? Do you know? Do
ten
you
thousand dollars is about yeah,
about
$10,000 is about 1 billion Ghana cedis.
okay? What is that like in relating to like a teacher's pay? So is that 10,000 like half of a year? What is that?
In relation to a teacher's pay, that's almost hey, it's a huge amount of money. Roughly, a teacher is paid about $300 here in Ghana. Those who earn so much, they earn around 400, 500
Okay.
monthly. Yeah, so $10,000 is a huge amount of money.
Okay. Yeah, that's the budget of the government for about every child in America. So as a
Wow.
child, for example, if you're a teacher and you brought 5 kids with you, that's like $50,000. Just pretty much pay your pay if you brought 5 kids enrolled in that school, because every child is worth about 10,000 to the school, more in other places. If you have a Title I school, a really high poverty, it might be a lot more than that. But that's at least I'm basing it my knowledge from Arkansas. So in Arkansas, it's about $9,000 to $10,000 per kid. So we have a deal here where they can actually parents have the right to take their kid to whatever school they want, and a lot of times it's because of the score. Some schools perform better than others, so they would drive the kids to another county, another place, in order for their kids to be in a better high performing schools. And that's when they advertise on the radio, because I think they have a May 1st deadline, what they call them the choice, where they have self choice on where they want their school choice, they call them, where they would take their kids to a higher performing school. And that's okay. It's very much acceptable. It's because of the performance. And in Arkansas right now, we're doing like merit pay as well, where teachers are getting paid if high, $2,000, $3,000 extra, if not more, depending on the scores of your students. Like my sister was lucky enough to be one. I think she was the only one in her school that got that award, because every child is now coded to be partner up with the school, with the teachers that they are, like for example, she's literacy and or math. I don't know, she does both. But anyway, so literacy, she's a literacy, and the literacy scores for that grade was only her, because she's the only teacher teaching that particular grade and particular subject, because it's a small school. So she got the award, and they give it to the teacher. So they have the merit pay now. And I don't think every state is doing that, but I know Arkansas is doing it. So you could get extra money But some schools are actually doing it differently. Some schools would like give it to the teacher. Some schools would like say, okay, we need to distribute it and give money to everybody, because if you're a sixth grade teacher, you really have, teachers from below before you, your K to five, the K to fifth grade teachers that also influence that child. The child did not just learn it in sixth grade, they've learned it before. So some of the mentality of administrators are like that. So they decide to like, okay, let's divide it up and give money or buy something or whatever for the school so that everybody will benefit, not just that one teacher. I do not know now if it's being made like you have to give it to that teacher, but I just know in the past when something is given like that, they would actually like purchase something to benefit everybody, not just that one teacher. But in my sister's particular one, it was actually for the teachers. So, but since I have been retired since 2016, so this is my ninth year of being retired, I kind of lost touch of some of the things that happen in there in that area. I am very much in touch with the PD or professional development part because that's what still I still do that. But on other internal things that happen in schools, unless my sister would tell me or my friends would tell me when I have lunch with them or whatever, then that was like, oh, Merlina, is this way now? We do this way now. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. So you might be teaching me some of the things that you will experience when you come here, because when you're retired, you don't know those things anymore. Okay, in even like for example in retirement, for those that will be on H-1B visa where you end up retiring here, in Arkansas, you have to have 28 years. If you have 28 years, you can retire. So if you were 21, 22 years old, so you could retire when you're only 50. I retired when I was only 48. And so then, well, of course, I did 25 years, and you could do like less than that, but they penalized you. So at that time, it's like because I was 3 years short. So it's 5% per year you're short. So I was 15% penalized. Now they up it now to 10%. So now if somebody retires at 25, they are penalized 30%, which is a third of your income for the rest of your life. So they're discouraging teachers from retiring early. I did because I had a wreck and I had really bad, lots of health issues, so I really had to do that. But it cost me a lot every month because I retired 3 years earlier. But that's something that you also learn. Like in Missouri, at one time, I don't know if they still now, a friend of mine told me that it's their age plus their experience equals 80. They can retire. So that's still a lot because if you have 30 years and you started, I don't know, that's really a lot. 50 plus 30 is 80. That means that if you're 30 years old, you have to put 50 years. That doesn't even make sense to me. But anyway, I just know that as an Arkansas administrator, I could actually work in my neighboring state, like Surrey is neighbor to me. I could work there for 5 years or 3 years for administrator, 5 years for teacher. So I could work there for 3 years and then get a second retirement from their state. A bunch of my friends are doing that. They would go to the neighboring state and they would go a second retirement that way. Okay, but administrator is less than teachers. I have a teacher friend that did that and she had to go 5 years. And you know what happens? She doubled her pay because she did that. I don't know. I kind of am tired of doing that though. I don't want to work part-time. I mean full-time anymore. I don't mind the part-time. But it's, I guess in America you can make as much as you want if you're just willing to, to do the number of years that you want to. Yeah. And with my husband being older than me, it's really important that we spend more time together instead of working more time, for me. That's why I would do a PD job, a consulting job. I'm very picky about it. So Mike finally came on. Mike, I was wondering if you slept in. It's already 8:30, man. Now, Debbie's my co-host. If you want it back, you tell Debbie, okay? But anyway, so Mike, talking about Mike has really traveled. Like, Mike, did you go somewhere again? Did you vacation again with your family? Oh, it was Maria.
Not
Maria
yet
went to
po. Yeah,
DC.
Maria, it's Maria.
Maria went to DC, right? So what was your last
Yes.
trip, Mike, with your family?
Where po?
What's your last trip? Which state did you go to?
I think the last summer it's Mount Rushmore, but during the spring break po, yeah, I think it's spring break. We went to Cali, New Mexico, Arizona, and
You went out
Colorado.
west. Okay.
Yes po.
Yeah. And so that's the thing about the US being so close together and we don't have borders. So you can just pretty much go. I think Mike has already reached the number of states I have. I'm 38, Mike. What are you?
Oh, mine po is 31.
Oh my God, you're only 7 away from you. And I've been here 38 years, Mike. So Mike this is your third year, I think, right? But he travels like
Yes
crazy
po.
with his family, which is nice. Do you usually go visit some teachers when you go, Mike? Is that what you do?
No po.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you have
Yeah.
friends. He's got friends all over. So he had pretty much brought most of his
Mhm.
main friends here.
So probably next time po, next time. The
Yeah.
reason why we don't have a drive now is that because I'm raising my hacienda here, inspired
What?
by your garden.
How you garden? You're doing garden?
Yeah.
Yeah? You have a
Yes
big
po.
garden?
Yes po.
You have not posted it, Mike. I have not seen it.
Yeah, soon.
Okay, you have to post it. You know what the teachers have done is they actually helped me, Leslie and Gurley and Myrna, the three couples plus their kids, they came over and helped me set up my garden. And so they did a trellis this year. This is my first year of ever having a trellis where that my cucumbers and all that can climb up. And I learned something this year, by the way, that you cannot let them climb and just go down. You have to like by the time they go in the middle, you have to start trimming them. So because otherwise all the energy will just go to those flowers and things and it's not on the fruit. So I've been trimming them like crazy. And another thing that I learned talking about garden is about those squash blossoms. I didn't even know those squash blossoms you can eat. I've been throwing them away all these years. And then now that
It can
Johnson's
be eaten,
mom is
dog. It can
here,
be eaten.
I'm telling you, she said, "Do you know that it's expensive there in the Philippines to buy those squash blossoms? Those big yellow big one." And I said, "I've been throwing them away." And she said, "Yeah, you put them in mung beans." So she cooked some, and then we had a whole big bag today that she said she was gonna cook some, and I'm like, "Yay!" So I'm learning a lot. So what are the things that you planted in your garden? This is part of our culture, by the way, in America.
There's a lot po. I have squash, sitaw,
What is a sitaw
tomato,
in English?
uh, what do you call this?
You
Long
can
beans?
long beans.
String beans, string beans.
Oh, that's a called long yard beans. Yeah.
Yardong. Yeah,
Yard
yeah,
beans.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yandong yardong like that. And then I'm keep on joking to Mabel every time she is visiting the garden. Hey, it seems like you are the one who is eating the leaves of my vegetables because he keep on looking for the talbos po. I want
Ah,
this talbos. I want the talbos of
talbos
your
is the top of the sweet
ampalaya.
potato. That's a
Yes po,
sweet potato
ampalaya,
tip.
the kalabasa, and then
Ah,
she discovered that yung talbos po ng sitaw, you can also eat that.
okay. Really? You can eat what's a
Yes
sitaw?
po. Yung
Long beans?
string beans po.
You can
Yeah,
eat
yeah.
you can eat the tips of them, the leaves of them. I do not know that.
Ano po, the tip po, yung what po, yung pinakatalbos po.
Oh, the top
Talbos
one,
ng
the very
sitaw,
tip
yeah.
one. Okay.
Yes
Yeah,
po.
I could see that. But why would you do that though? Because they make more. They make more fruit stuff. So I don't understand.
Um, it will invites po yung new stems po.
Ah, okay. So
Yeah.
the
And then
little yeah, it's
it's really funny
usually
po that, yeah po, kasi mostly po yung mga views and videos sa YouTube po,
they were
pagbukas
saying
ko,
that.
puro gardens. Sa
Yeah.
TikTok, pag nagbubukas ako, more on garden, about vegetable gardening.
Yeah. Well,
Because I keep on
I did not
visiting it.
even know the other day. I did not know that you can eat the leaves of the peppers. Pepper leaves can be put in soup. And I'm
Yes
like,
po.
what?
Po.
I didn't know
Mm.
that. And I'm like, so
Yung
I'm such a
talbos,
beginner. I guess I'm
young
a
leaves po.
beginner. I have been gardening maybe 5 years now, so I call that a beginner because I've been in America 38 years, but my first 33 years I was in a home where it's so rocky. I tried and tried and nothing will grow because it was also in a big trees under so the sun can even go through. So I never had any success. So when we moved to this new place where it's so sunny, it's so bright, just open field, and I did that. Now my flowers and my plants are doing well. Some of you that follow, Debbie, have you seen it? Where I always posted my daily harvest, on ITSA. Mike, have you seen my ITSA update
Yes
every
po.
day? Yeah.
Yes po. See
But
it, yeah.
do you know what I'm having?
Every day
Y-
harvest.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm having problems now? Is knowing who to give it to. Because I've got too many things now. I mean, I'm like delivering some to my mom. Some of our neighbors now have gotten some. And I'm like, because I don't want to sell it. I want to just give it to someone. And so I'm like thinking, okay, the people that are renting our building downtown, and they said, Merlina, we can use some. So I'm delivering some to them today. And so anyway, so it's like I feel so wasteful when it's like all these vegetables that you work so hard for and it would just go bad, because it's like a big bag of it. And so yeah, so that's part of a culture here in America is having growing your own, especially in a rural area where Arkansas is a rural area. So most people have gardens. That's why you're having problems with who do you give it to when they also have their own garden. Big old folks like my mom, she's 83 and she doesn't garden anymore. She loves getting my stuff, and especially if you're raising Filipino vegetables, nobody knows how to fix it. So you have to find other Filipinos to give it to. And then our Filipino friends like Christina, she's 80-year-old, but she's like her garden is twice as big, if not three times as big as mine. So she says she gave me this huge bag of okra the other day. And I said, I have one okra and it's got two okras. She gave me a whole big bag of them. So what I did was I actually boiled them and then I made it into salad. Like you can steam them instead of boiling, steam them, and then you put like uh, vinegar and other spices. I added like the tomatoes and cucumbers in it, and they just make a salad out of the okra. Otherwise, it's that yucky stuff. It's that um, gooey stuff that's really yucky on okra. Yeah. So anyway, so Ganiado in Ghana, what kind of vegetables do you grow there in your garden, or do you have gardens? Can you hear me? About vegetables. We're talking because that's part of culture. Culture is about life, okay? And life means food is part of it, dancing and traditions and all that. Those are part of culture. So in America, when you come and teach here, those are parts of the culture that your kids will be bringing back in to you in your classroom. In the Philippines, I remembered when I was younger that we had our own agriculture class where we had a garden for school, right? Do you still do that there? Any of you guys are still teaching there? Do you do that? Do you
I
have
think
garden?
so, Doc, because the EPED still have the program Gulayan sa Paaralan.
Okay, gulayan
Yes.
means vegetable in school. So gulayan
Yeah,
is vegetables, paaralan means school. So
school,
vegetable
yeah.
gardening in
School.
school. Okay, school gardening. So that's part of the agriculture class, right? And so here, the agri class, they call them agri here. The agri classes are usually like they do depending on the focus of the school of the teacher. But a lot of times they're doing some building of things. One agri class was doing this. They call them container gardening. This is like your 5 gallon, those big old 5 gallon paint, buckets. They would use that to garden. My sister did that. She had like they were making this holders of those. So she'd like it. There's 12 of them with a hole enough for the 5 gallon pails, and then she did the gardening there. And her plants are like so fat, are so healthy because she was putting like the school had some rabbits and things, and so she had some friends that they would deliver some or have her to pick up some of her rabbit poops and all that. And then some of the Asian or the other local markets with those vegetables that are going bad, and she would pick them up and also put them there and do composting. So I'm trying to do composting here right now. I really don't know what I'm doing. I research it, and I know you cannot put like citrus. You cannot put like anything like lemon things or oranges. You cannot put like onions in it, but you can put other things in there. That they said the worms, because you have the worms and they don't like those. But to me, it's like food is food. I don't know how the worms would know, but anyway. But they said not to do that, and then you put like green and brown things in it. So anyway, so topic wise, you went on to those other cultural things. Now let's go back to school things. What are the things that you're doing? Because I know Philippines have started school since June. So Ghana, when do you start school this year? I know in America we don't start till third week of August. I keep asking Ghana because you're the only one representing your country. Can you still hear me? I guess I must have lost her. Okay, so any parts of the US now, what's going on in June? Is there something special that's going on in June? I know in Cebu, like in Lapu-Lapu, they have like fiesta in May. I know June 12th, that was Independence Day. That's equivalent to our July 4th. Debbie, what's going on in California, Deb, that's special, that's different than the other states? Nothing?
No idea,
No
doctor.
idea. Mm. Do you,
Sorry.
so tell me about your job searching. I know you're searching for jobs. So, because I have at least two that I have filled out for you. So, what are you finding in your job searching in California? Is it hard?
Actually, doctor, I do have a job. I just did not take summer classes because they were prioritizing the seniors.
Ah, okay.
Because I just got my employment authorization last March,
Right.
so I wasn't given the priority. But since I got my California license, that's when I start putting out my resume. I don't know if I'll still get a job for any of those that I applied for because I know that school year is coming up. So I'm just trying out, and I'm very thankful for you, doctor, for filling out those stuff for me because I just don't know. I just put myself out there. I just got it end of June. I did
Okay.
not even expect for the California license to come out,
That's
right?
awesome.
So,
Congratulations for that.
thank
That's
you.
good.
You've been an inspiration. Thank you so
Well,
much,
thank you.
doctor.
I gave you some really good recommendation things. So yeah, they're asking about like how, what kind of teacher you are, what are you hardworking? Do you get along with your teammates and so on? I said, well, based on my just a conversation with Debbie, of course, I have not really been working with you, but based on my conversation with you, I always felt like you always knew what to say. Like you are kind to others whenever you're talking to someone, you always have this kindness, which will go a long, long way when dealing with your colleagues, because that's something that the administrators would always ask. Can you get along with your colleagues? Because as an administrator, you don't want to deal with dramas. When you
Right.
have dramas between teachers, that is the worst thing. Okay. That's why one of the things that they would always ask is, how does this teacher fit? I always say, are you in the right seat in the right, are you in good fit, the right seat in the bus of that school? Are you going to be a right fit? Because if you have a really strong personality and then you just boss around others in your grade level, whatever, and then you're going to have miserable folks that are unhappy to work with you because so and so bossy, so and so cannot don't want to share or do not want to, and some of them would feel so insulted, like if you have a fixed mindset and somebody would share with you and you think, who do you think you are, why are you sharing with me? Well, a growth mindset person would say, oh, thank you so much, I really appreciate you sharing with me. And so that's the difference on how they react. Because a fixed mindset, well, how dare you, I already know everything, why do you share this with me and I've seen it, and that makes me sad. Okay. So, and that you can always tell as an administrator, I could always tell who my growth mindset folks were and who my fixed mindset folks were. And because I've studied that really thoroughly about fixed mindset versus growth mindset, I would know how to deal with them, because you have to be careful, because remember, they know it all. So there's really nothing you could say unless you say it in a different way, where, going around what they were thinking about, that they don't need you. And so when we do our PLC meetings, I always want to make sure that they know these are some things you could say to parents. These are some things you could do with your students that shows you are growth minded person, not a fixed mindset. Because we need to show our students that we are growing, that they're not an end all where, there's a limit to what you can learn. There's no such thing. You have to show students that we're learning. So they want to continue to learn as well, right? Okay. So any other input that you have? Because we're going to close up early today because I have a party this afternoon. I have a mahjong party. We do this. That's a cultural thing I'm doing as a volunteer in my community, where I am doing chess and mahjong practice. And I partnered up with a local person that's actually happened to be a best friend of my daughter. That's she moved back here and they have this building and they have a restaurant in that building and they had like a little store. And so they have tables here for the community to play games. And so every Tuesday and Thursday, we'll have a chess and mahjong practice. So we played more mahjong than chess now lately. But now, once a month, I would host this party, mahjong party thing, and it's today. This afternoon. So our theme last month was Mexican food, and this one is Asian. And they suggested that, and I'm like, perfect, because I would cook you some Filipino food. But somebody's bringing curry. See, she said that she liked to go curry. Somebody's bringing egg rolls. And so their egg roll is going to be so different. When a white person would make the egg roll, it's going to be different than because we have all colors, that would come here. I love diverse. I really like diversity. So you have all kinds of folks that will come here. Last time we had 2 tables. I have enough for 3 or 4 tables. So we'll see how many tables we need. But I was even thinking, you know what? Maybe I should invite some of my Filipino friends, but only 1 or 2 out of the many of them that only know Mahjong. They do not know. And so my goal is to it's a thinking game. It's a logical, mathematical game. You have to plan ahead. You have to solve problems. You are given these certain tiles, these 16 tiles, and you have to solve problems on how to, mix and match them in order to make your sets. So it's like chess. You have to plan ahead. And so to me, that's a really good thing to know. And I'm seeing that a lot of folks are actually liking it. Our youngest one, we have a 15-year-old player that comes with his mom. And that's what he was making the egg roll. But his mama's coming here too. And so anyway, but so we do marker of chocolates. So they would end up with chocolates, so the winners would end up with a bunch of chocolate kisses. But anyway, so that's what we're doing today. So Johnson's mom, Zinaida, is now she's gonna help me cook some things. So yeah. So that's why I told my husband, I promise I will not cancel it, but I will cut it short. So last minute thing, if you have a question right now, this will be the time to ask. I think we covered a lot of things today, which is good. Strategy wise, we did tend to, and of course, the thing pair share is always a good thing. Role playing, I mentioned role playing. And anyway, so I shared a lot of things there that hopefully, innovative things that you do in your classroom is always good. I just posted a 4-poster thing about innovation in the classroom that you might want to check out. So if you're not a member of our ITSA group, International Teacher Support in America, in YouTube, you may want to find us. You put ITSA or you can Google me and I think you'll find it somehow. And then because I have so many videos there and YouTube, we also have a YouTube channel. And it's Facebook, we have 8,000, close to 800, so 8,796. And we're trying to get to 10,000. So help us, share with others. And then I think on YouTube, we have 600 something and our goal there is 1,000. So why it's good? Because once you reach that 10,000, then you can have some sponsors, and that's when you can raise some more. What I'm planning to do is maybe do some field trips and stuff with teachers, and we could use some of the money to pay for gas or whatever. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. So we're trying to fundraise, I guess. So tell others, share with others any of the materials that I do. I've been doing a lot of resources for teachers, guys. So if you're not a member, do become one and tell the others, send them our links, okay? All right. So Debbie, thank you for being my co-host today, and Mike, although late, but you always have some great things to say. Rosemary, I really enjoyed visiting with you. And um, so Mary, do you have some last minute thing you want to say? Or Ganiyatu?
I don't know. I'm just new here, Dr. McCullough, and yeah, I'm just happy to be here right now.
Good. Next time you might want to get ready and show me your video, okay? I know sometimes we're not ready when it's our first time, but next time if you feel like it, you can show us and actually introduce yourself if you want or not. So if you want to do
Okay.
that, that would be cool. How did you hear about us, Mary?
There's actually this group chat that it keeps on posting, like a community group chat in Facebook, and then I joined it, and then somehow, you doctor emailed me to join one of these
Ah,
like
okay.
Zoom calls. Yeah.
Good, good. So if you have not shared with me your resume and cover letter, so you can be a part of my distribution list, do that. It's McCullough Merlina at Gmail, McCulloughMerlina at Gmail. Send it to me, and you'll be in there. And in that way, you will always be informed on, you can get a video copy of this recording of this and any other things. I will email you, and you will be a part of that. Okay. All right. Well, thanks again for all that you do. You are making a difference in the lives of kids. So continue to do what you do, okay? Sometimes you may feel discouraged, but always think of that one child that you have impacted, and everything will be right, right? Okay. Thank you so much. And this is Merlina signing off from Arkansas. Okay.
Thank you,
Bye. Bye,
sir.
Thank you so
guys.
much.
Bye.
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 I didn't talk to all of you, but some of you maybe next time, okay? So there's Dante, I miss, Christine. Um, Real Me. I don't know who that one is. Real Me. And there's a bunch of numbers. But anyway, so I'll catch you next time, okay? So I have to leave now so I can get ready for our party. Okay, bye.